Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and welcome back to this next video. And this is the 13th video in the series of videos on immunology. And in this particular video, I want to focus on the different forms of pathogens and the immunological response. In my previous videos, I've told you a lot of experiments that has been carried out in the history, and a lot of experimentation is going on in the current era. And if you combine these experimentations, so today more than ever we are beginning to understand on a molecular and cellular level that how a vaccine or infection that leads to the development of the immunity. So it is the combined result of these experimentation that has been you can say carried on in more than a century, that has led to this understanding on a molecular and a cellular level. And if you look at these historical studies, they revealed that there is a complex system of cells and soluble compounds, and these cells and soluble compounds that have evolved to protect us against an enormous range of invaders of all shapes, sizes, and chemical structures. Now, the organisms that cause disease, they are known as the pathogens, and by the process which these pathogens they induce illness in the host is called is the pathogenesis. So the causative agent is known as the pathogens, and the mechanism by which these pathogens they cause disease in the host is known as the pathogenesis. Now, the human pathogens, like if you specifically talk about the human pathogen, they can be broadly classified into four major categories, and they include the viruses, the fungi, the parasites, and the bacteria. And in a while, I'll give you some of the examples from these four major classes of the human pathogens. Now, some of the shared characteristics that are common to these group of the pathogens, but not to the host, that can be exploited by the immune system of the host for recognition and destruction of these pathogens. What I mean by this is that these pathogens, they have got special characteristics, and these special characteristics are not present in the host, so it is easy for the immune system to exploit the specialized characteristics of these pathogens for their recognition and destruction. And the same mechanism is not going to affect the host because these special characteristics are not present in the host. Now, in this particular table, I am going to give you some of the important examples from these four major classes of the pathogens. So this left side, this column is going to show you the causative agent, and this particular side is going to show you the disease which is caused by these pathogens. For example, if you talk about the viruses, the example would be the polio virus, which is the causative agent of the poliomyelitis, which is also known as the polio. The variola virus is responsible for causing the smallpox, and the causative agent for the AIDS is the human immunodeficiency virus. If you talk about the fungi, so the important example can be the Candida albicans, which is responsible for the candidiasis, and the Taenia corporis, which is responsible for causing a ringworm in the human beings. If you talk about the parasites, so the causative agent of malaria, these are the Plasmodium species, and the causative agent of leishmaniasis, these are the Leishmania major parasite. If you talk about these bacteria, so the important example can be the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which is the causative agent of tuberculosis, the Botrytis pertussis, which is the causative agent of the whooping cough, which is also known as the pertussis, and Vibrio cholera is responsible for causing cholera in the human beings. So these are just some of the examples. A lot of can say viruses are there that can cause diseases in the human being. Similarly, a lot of fungi, parasites, and bacteria are there which are responsible for causing a variety of the infections in the human beings. But these are just some of the examples from these four major types of the human pathogens. An important thing to keep in mind is that the immune response that began to emerge at a particular area that is dependent on the microenvironment. What I mean by this is that the same pathogen can be treated differently in different parts of the human body or different part of the host. So the microenvironment, that is very important for dictating the immune response, that which kind of the immune response we need against that particular pathogen. For example, like some areas of the body, like the central nervous system, like they are virtually off limits for the immune response, and the reason is that the immune response could do more damage in the central nervous system than the pathogens. What this means is that if there is some sort of infection in the central nervous system, you have to use other strategies to get rid of those particular pathogens, because the immune response that usually do not reach towards the central nervous system. Now, say for example, like in other cases, like the environment may come with inherent directional cues for the immune cells. For example, if you talk about the foreign compounds that enter via the digestive tract, like including the commensal microbes that help us digest food, they are tolerated by the immune system. So if you talk about foreign compounds, if you talk about these commensal microbes, they are tolerated by the immune system, and the reason is we need them for the normal physiological functions of the body. But these same foreigners, the same pathogens or the same compounds, if they enter into the bloodstream, they are going to be treated much more aggressively. So as I've told you about microenvironments, that the microenvironment dictates the immune response, that which kind of the response is needed against the same pathogen in different microenvironments. And this would be one of the example. If a commensal organism is entering into the through the digestive tract into your digestive tract, that would be tolerated by the microorganism, but that would be tolerated by the immune system. But if the same pathogen entered into the bloodstream, that would be tolerated much more aggressively. Now, each encounter with a pathogen that engage a distinct set of strategies that depend on the nature of the invader and the microenvironment in which the engagement occurs. So these are the two important things to keep in mind, that when you talk about the immunological encounter with a pathogen, so that would depend on the nature of the invader and the microenvironment in which the pathogens and the immune system, they are engaging each other. Now, the immune pathways, they do not become engaged until foreign organism first breach the physical barriers of the body. So the physical barriers of the body that usually off limit these pathogens from entering into our body. So as far as the physical barriers of the body, they have not been breached, the immune system is not going to get activated. If I give you the examples, the important example of these physical barriers in our body, so the skin and the mucous membrane, these are the important physical barriers of the human body. The acidity of the stomach content, of the vagina, and the perspiration, that poses a barrier to many organisms, because many organisms, they are unable to grow in the low pH that has been provided by the stomach content, the content of the vagina, and the perspiration. Now, when you look at the importance of these barriers, so the importance of the barriers, they become obvious when they are surmounted. For example, if there is an animal bite, so animal bite can communicate rabies or tetanus. So what the animal bites, they are doing, that they are surmounting these physical barriers, thereby allowing the pathogen to enter into the body easily, and that the immune system is going to get activated. Another important example, that would be the insect punctures wounds that can transmit the causative agent of many diseases like the malaria, the plague, or the Lyme disease. Another important example, and the most common that you may have seen, is the burn victims. So what happens, that these burn victims, they lose the protective skin at the burn site, and when they lose the protective skin at that particular burn site, the microorganism or the pathogen, they can easily enter into the body, thereby causing different sort of infections. So the burn victim, they must be treated aggressively with drugs to prevent the bacterial and fungal infections at that particular sites in the victim. Now, in my next video, I'll be focusing on this particular thing, that the process of pathogen recognition involves an interaction between the foreign organism mean the pathogen, and a recognition molecule expressed by the host cell. So the immune system is using a particular set of molecules to recognize a particular pathogens, and it recognizes the pathogens by exploiting the different kind of the molecules present on the pathogens. So that would be the focus of our next video. So if you like the video, please subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and share it with your friends. I'll see you in the next video.